Before we
हाँ
start,
प्रभु, हाँ प्रभु।
we should do pranam mantra, no, Prabhu? What do you
यस
think?
प्रभु। मैं जनरली क्या करता हूँ ना, मैं फर्स्ट चैप्टर के लिए नहीं करता हूँ मैं, बिकॉज पीपल आर जस्ट गेटिंग यूज टू इट ना,
Okay.
इसके लिए। तो मैं सेकंड चैप्टर से चालू करता हूँ, बिकॉज दैट इज व्हेन द लॉर्ड आल्सो स्टार्ट स्पीकिंग, एंड अंटिल देन अराउंड 6 to 8 क्लासेस हुए जाते हैं, पीपल गेट यूज टू इट, ऐसा।
ठीक है प्रभु।
So today will be our last class on first chapter. Then next week onwards प्रभु करते हैं वैसा। Thank you for the suggestion.
Yes, Prabhu. No worries.
So would you like to do a quick recap, Garimaji, Deepak Prabhu?
मुझको तो याद नहीं रहता कुछ। सॉरी।
हमने सिर्फ 3 वर्सेस ही किए थे लास्ट टाइम। Whatever you remember, no problem. You can tell, I will add if there is anything missing.
One was that where Krishna brought Arjuna in front of everybody, his seniors and all that. He makes him see everybody in the battlefield. One was that. Yeah, I just remember that one.
Okay. And वो बीच में लाने के बाद क्या हो गया? What happened? It's a logical sequence of events. If you look at the verses carefully.
Yeah, वो बीच में लाने के बाद was touching his weak point when he said that how can I, he goes and bows them, namaste करता है, like नमन करते हैं, because he feels that this is the last time he's seeing them and doing it. But the other way around, Krishna was intentionally brought him in the middle so that he feels in the situation sort of a thing. And till now, Arjuna has been telling ki, how can I fight against my own seniors or my own gurus and all that, while Arjun is saying that, and while Krishna ji is being silent over it. He hasn't started replying him as such. He's just
Correct.
keeping mum.
Correct. So एक just correction करना चाहता हूँ मैं. He did not do any naman as such, meaning at least not mentioned in
Okay.
Bhagavad. So it was just that the chariot was brought in between by Krishna in front of Drona and Bhishma. And then after looking at all of these people, then he started getting his, indications that he doesn't want to fight, which he represents via 4 arguments. Anyone remembers what are those 4 arguments? Very important to understand, because these are the arguments that Krishna crosses out in the second chapter, and then he leaves that particular step of the yogic ladder and then goes one step ahead. तो ये प्लेटफॉर्म जो है वो समझना जरूरी है. Because Arjuna's questions, Arjuna's arguments, they form the basis of Bhagavad Gita. तो अर्जुन के प्रश्न समझना बहुत जरूरी है. किसको याद आ रहा है?
The 4 arguments, I think first was compassionate.
Yeah. So compassion में क्या था उसको? He was feeling compassionate about
his relatives, about his pitamaha, brothers, all जितने भी battlefield में थे. He was feeling compassionate about them.
About people on both the sides.
Both the sides, yeah.
Correct. Then second one.
Second was, Prabhu, I think
Prabhu, there is a logical sequence between his arguments, and we
Prabhu,
saw that.
is it fear?
No, definitely not.
No, fear to nahi tha, yes.
Arjun did not fear the war. नहीं. सी उसको क्या मिलने, अभी हम लोग कभी मतलब कुछ गलती करते हैं, हाँ, अभी पता चलता है कि लाइक वी कैन नॉट अवॉइड बट टू डू द मिस्टेक. देन व्हाट एक्चुअली गिव्स अ काइंड ऑफ द इम्पेटस कि ठीक है यार, नो प्रॉब्लम, गलती होती है, लेकिन समथिंग समथिंग होने वाला है मुझे, दैट इज फायदा तो होने वाला है, राइट? तो लोगों को जब फायदा होता रहता है तो दे आर नॉट बॉदर्ड वेदर द एक्टिविटी पर बीइंग परफॉर्म्ड इज राइट और रॉन्ग. सो व्हाट अर्जुन इज सेइंग कि this stuff of killing my own people just for the sake of a piece of a land is firstly not right according to me, and on top of that one I'm not going to get any enjoyment.
Yeah, enjoyment.
Loss of enjoyment was
the second argument was loss of enjoyment, because he concluded, even I win, how I will enjoy by killing my own relatives and friends and brothers and sisters. So,
correct.
Loss of enjoyment was the second one.
Correct. और third वाला, then he is saying कि enjoyment तो मिलने ही वाला नहीं है, but something is going to happen, and what is that?
People will die, प्रभु, right? Ladies जो होंगी विधवा हो जाएंगी, या
हाँ, that is the fourth one.
Fourth one, वर्ण संकर जिसको बोलते हैं प्रभु, right?
Correct, that is the fourth one.
Yeah.
हाँ, थर्ड में कुछ तो है ना, हम लोग जब बोलते हैं यार गलत करना है यार मेरे को, आई एम फोर्स टू डू इट, बट मेरे को कुछ फायदा भी नहीं है, और ऊपर से फायदा तो है ही नहीं, डैश डैश भी है. व्हाट इज दैट?
लैमेंटेशन प्रभु.
लैमेंटेशन तो उसको है ही, दैट इज द रीजन ही इज एक्चुअली पुटिंग फॉरवर्ड हिज रीजंस, बट उसको सिंफुल रिएक्शंस का डर है उसको. वो बोल रहा है अभी, लेके हमारा इमेजिन करो, लेट अस पुट आवरसेल्फ इन दैट सिचुएशन. देयर इज activity that somebody is forcing us to do it. That activity is not right, we know we are not supposed to do it, but हम लोग को फिर भी जबरदस्ती हम लोग को करना पड़ रहा है. ऊपर से कुछ फायदा नहीं है, और नुकसान अगर हुआ तो नुकसान पूरा हमारा है. तो जो बंदा जबरदस्ती कर रहा है उसको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, नुकसान पूरा हमारा, फायदा zero फायदा, and we know it is not right. Now that is that third level of argument he is saying कि फायदा तो कुछ है ही, बट मुझे सिंफुल रिएक्शंस लगेंगे, मुझे नरके नियतम वासो, आई विल रॉट इन हेल, ऐसा वो बोल रहा है. एंड फिर चौथा वो बोल रहा है कि ठीक है यार, पाप होने वाला तो है, बट अगर मैं पापी हूं एंड मुझे कुछ प्रॉब्लम होता है तो ठीक है, आई विल बी द सफरर, विच इज ओके, स्टिल ओके. बट वो बोल रहा है कि मेरे ये एक्शन के वजह से पूरी डायनास्टी खत्म होने वाली है. I will be killing the seniors of the Kuru dynasty, the Pandava dynasty, and because of that, the irreligion will prevail. Irreligion की वजह से women will get polluted. They will, women, polluted women will produce, meaning bad progeny. बच्चे गलत गंदी मेंटालिटी के बच्चे पैदा हो जाएंगे, and because of such people society will be suffering a lot, and because of such people all community welfare projects will stop, and then वो degradation of humanity हो जाएगा पूरा. So these were the 4 arguments. So we completed until verse 43 last week. तो आज 44, 45 and 46 देखते हैं. Anybody has any question around this?
ठीक है प्रभु जी, we can.
No, we can continue. Thank you.
दिख रहा है स्क्रीन?
Yes प्रभु.
So let's start. Let's chant the verse together. 1.44. अहो बत महत् पापम,
अहो बत
महत् पापम,
कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयम्, यद्राज्य सुखलोभेन, हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यतः, Translation, anybody?
Yes प्रभु जी. अनुवाद श्रील प्रभुपाद जी के द्वारा. जय श्रील प्रभुपाद. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
Okay. तो अभी प्रीवियस वर्ष तक क्या हो गया था? अर्जुन concluded his reasoning of 4 arguments. These arguments he had put up in front of Krishna for not fighting the war. So abhi a question automatically comes up, why Krishna? कृष्णा, अभी तक तो भगवत गीता में ऐसा कहीं लिखा नहीं है ना कि कृष्णा वाज फोर्सिंग हिम टू फाइट द वॉर, कहीं पे भी ऐसा लिखा नहीं है. तो व्हाई कृष्णा? क्योंकि उसको ये पता है कि कृष्णा has tried each and every method, and the Pandavas also have tried each and every method to avoid the war, but that all those attempts have failed. Okay. On top of that one, the last attempt, which was by Krishna, okay, to go and negotiate in Hastinapur, that also failed. So now they, being Kshatriya, they have to have their rightful kingdom. So उन लोग को अभी पता है कि the war has absolutely no alternative. Duryodhan's obstinacy has brought the situation to the war without any other alternative remaining. और उसको ये पता है कि कृष्णा नाउ वांट्स द वॉर टू हैपन. व्हाई? बिकॉज अदरवाइज इनको इनका किंगडम नहीं मिलेगा कभी. सो दैट्स व्हाई ही इज नाउ पुटिंग फॉरवर्ड दीज आर्ग्यूमेंट्स टू कृष्णा, knowing very well Krishna's internal intentions. Now he is driving a point to Krishna to say that the Pandavas are about to commit a grievously sinful activity. And it is only, meaning he is thinking, so it is only because of the greed that the Pandavas have for their kingdom, which is actually not true. But because Arjun is a saintly devotee, he considers himself as responsible, or basically Pandavas as responsible for this situation. Whereas he is not considering Duryodhan as responsible for this situation, which is his nice nature of thinking. Now what he is saying, aho bata mahat papam. Mahat papam, meaning not a normal pap, normal sin. Mahat papam, greatly sinful activity. What is that sinful activity? Of destroying our dynasty. Okay? And it's so unfortunate that we are about to commit. Okay? Kartum vyavasita vayam, meaning vayam meaning we basically, we have decided to kartum, do it, perform it. Okay. यद राज्य सुख लोभेन, राज्य का जो सुख होता है, द हैप्पीनेस डिराइव्ड आउट ऑफ अ किंगडम, and being greedy about that happiness, that is the driving force behind this particular action or the decision to perform the action. What is that decision? Hantum swajanam udyataha. Hantum is to kill. Swajanam, our own people. To kill our own people, that decision is driven by lobha, lobha of rajya sukha, and that is driving us to perform this greatly sinful activity, mahat papam. It's so unfortunate, he is saying. Now if you look at it, so far Arjun was using a singular word for himself to say that I am going to perform, I will be performing, I will go and rot in hell and all. Here he uses the word vayam, which means we. Okay. And now he basically considers that the current stage of almost the war has started. He considers basically the Pandavas and even Krishna also responsible for being ready to fight the war. Now, he is not holding Duryodhan responsible. See the saintly nature of this person. Now, the key point that Arjun is missing here is his lamentation is based on the bodily conception of life. So to think of ourselves as the body and perform our actions, our thoughts, our mentality driven by this particular thought that we are the body and nothing else. That thought process is incorrect, where Arjun is thinking and putting his arguments forward via that mentality. Also, he is not aware of Krishna's plans, why the war, why he wants the war to happen. So, uh, and it is not that meaning Arjun is completely unaware. Arjun is currently under the spell of something called as Yoga Maya, which we will learn little later when we reach to the 7th chapter. But this Yoga Maya is purposely covers a devotee or any living entity, and purposely so that certain actions can be performed without the real knowledge. One example given here is uh, Yashoda Mata. When the Damodar Lila was performed, Yashoda Mata was under the covering of Yoga Maya, and she was thinking that Krishna is my son. Yeah, if he makes mistakes, I have the right to correct him. So, had the Yogamaya covering not been there, and had she known that Krishna is the supreme, she would never be able to give that love which she gave to Krishna. Yeah. Imagine knowing that our child is like the prime minister of a country. Will we be able to, although we would want to internally, but will we be able to hug him and give him kisses and do masti with him and all that? As a normal child, when we would do, will we be able to do it when when we know him, he is the prime minister of the country? So it's not so simple, right? There is an automatic awe and reverence that comes out, because of which there is a kind of a unnatural relationship that automatically develops. To avoid that unnatural relationship from developing, Yogamaya puts up this covering, and this covering is actually good for developing even a stronger and better relationship with Krishna. Now, Arjun is also covered under such particular Yoga Maya, because of which he is now feeling all of these reasons are coming to his mind, and the 6 indications that he gave, that is the bodily indications that are happening to him, so that he can put forward these questions to Krishna, which gives an opportunity to Krishna to speak Bhagavad Gita, because of which people like us will be able to learn, understand, and apply the principles of Bhagavad Gita in our life. Had Arjun not become confused about his duty, maybe Krishna would not have spoken Bhagavad Gita. Then imagine what would have happened to people like us. So these are like arrangements by the Lord. Okay, so let's move on. 1.45. यदि माम प्रतीकारम
यदि माम अप्रतीकारम्
अशस्त्रम शस्त्रपाणयः
शस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः
शस्त्रपाणयः
धार्तराष्ट्रारणे हन्युस्
धार्तराष्ट्रारणे हन्युः
धर्तराष्ट्राणे हन्यस्य
तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्.
तन्मे
तन्मे क्षेमतरं
क्षेमातरं
भवेत्.
भवेत्.
Translation?
It is the custom
No,
according to the
translation.
Kshatriya fight.
Translation.
Sorry. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
Yeah, thank you. So now he is taking that discussion to even one level further. He is saying that let alone fighting with them, even if I don't fight, and if they still want to fight with me, still I am okay to be killed unarmed by them. Now, why unarmed is important? Because
So that he is not, sorry.
Hani, please continue.
No, sorry. So that basically he himself is not the doer of any sin, he feels that it's better that I get killed without doing that sin rather than I do a sin and then something, all the repercussions that he has already talked about. So that's why he says it's better that I be unarmed and I be killed.
Not actually. To a certain extent, it might be true, but the actual reason is, according to a Kshatriya principles, code of conduct, especially related to fights and wars, uh, two people cannot fight with each other if one of them is unarmed. So if you are fighting another person, and let's say his sword or his mace or his bow and arrow, they fall down, then you have to give him a good opportunity to pick up the weapon and then resume the fight. According to Kshatriya code, it is not right to kill or shoot an arrow on a person, on a fighter who doesn't have the weapon with him at that moment. So that's why he is saying that even if they break the moral code, even if they kill me, even unarmed also, I'm fine. Let them do that. They don't know what is right, what is wrong, but I know what is right, what is wrong. But, so that I will not fight, let them do it. So yadi mam apratikaram. Pratikar is resistance. Apratikar is non-resisting. Okay. Ashastram shastrapanaya. Meaning ashastra, meaning I do not have any shastra, any weapon in hand, and they are having the weapons in hand. Okay. Dharta Rashtra Rane Hanyus. Rane is on the battlefield. Dharta Rashtra meaning sons of Dhruta Rashtra. Hanyu is to kill. Even if they were to kill me on the battlefield, Tanme Kshema Taram Bhavet. So he is saying that would be better for me. Why? Because, as you said, the sin of killing will be on them, not on Arjun. And the destination would anyway be heaven, sort of. So he is saying that uh, if people, the sons of Dhritarashtra, they forget all their moral codes of conduct, no problem. Even if they are greedy, no problem. Even if I'm unarmed and they kill me unresisting, still no problem. Let them do whatever they want to do, but I will not want to kill them, get sinful reactions, and be the responsible person for the destruction of dynasty. This is what his logic is. Now, let us just discuss about this word Kshema Taram Bhavet. Okay. So, what is Arjun doing? He's conveying to Krishna that not fighting or being killed unarmed or without any resistance by Duryodhan and the company is better for him, because that way he will still achieve a heavenly planet, a better destination, and a protection from sinful activities, right? Now, he is saying previously that, Kulakshaya will happen, meaning the destruction of dynasty will happen when the protectors of the dynasty are destroyed. And it will also cause those generations, those ancestors who have gone up into other planets, they will fall from their higher planets. So he is saying that at a longer term, meaning from a longer perspective, a wider perspective, Arjun is saying that just by me being killed, there will be many things that will be avoided. So if I am killed, it's not necessary that all other ancestors will be killed. Okay, sorry, all other relatives will be killed. If they are not killed, the women of their family will not get polluted, the children will not be bad, the ancestors will not fall down. And for that he is saying, if I have to lose my life, it is fair enough, meaning just a small price to pay to avoid such a big damage, which is fair enough, he is saying. And that he considers as kshemataram. Okay, so kshemataram meaning a superlative form of well-being, which he thinks that everything will be fine if they were to kill me rather than I were to kill them. What he misunderstands is what he considers to be long-term good is actually a short-term benefit, but a long-term debacle it is. And that we will see when Krishna starts explaining that in the second chapter. So we talked about ashastram and apratikaram, right? Where unresisting and without any arms, weapons in hand. So this was against the Kshatriya code of conduct to fight somebody without having sufficient weapons in hand. And there is another perspective here, um, which comes in the second chapter. I think fifth or sixth verse it comes in. I'm not very sure. So he says ki it is fair enough for me to have a begging bowl in hand, go around begging. I will live happily by begging rather than killing my relatives and causing destruction to the dynasty and everybody. So that was again his thought process. But because Kshatriyas are not allowed to beg, this bhiksha is okay for Brahmanas only, but not for Kshatriyas. So that's why when he makes that statement, uh, uh, it actually brings in another aspect, a kind of importance to this verse, because a Kshatriya is not supposed to beg, but despite that he is saying it is fine if I have to beg, because it is going to save the complete dynasty from such a big destruction, sinful reactions, and many things. Now we reach the last verse of the first chapter. So let's read this together. Sanjay Uvacha.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Sanjay Uvacha.
Evam Uktarjunah Sankhye.
Evam Muktava Arjun Sankhye.
Rathopastha Upavishat.
Ratho Upasthita Upavishat.
Visrujya Sasharam Chapam.
Srajya Sasharam Chapam.
Chokasam Vigna Manasaha.
Shoka Samvigna Manasaha.
Translation.
अनुवाद श्रील प्रभुपाद जी के द्वारा. जय श्रील प्रभुपाद. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Hare Krishna.
So what happens, when such kind of descriptions are given, um, we need to understand the context behind it to be able to understand the meaning and importance behind these words. So anybody, like, people like us, if we are tired and if you don't want to do something, what will we do? Immediately the laptop or a bag or whatever it is, we will keep aside and we will sit down. So there is nothing, great about it. What's so great? Meaning, will we describe to our wife that I kept my bag away from me and then I sat down on the road? No, it is hardly anything. Yeah, even if we sit down on the office, also we will not tell anybody this. But when Sanjay says this about Arjun casting aside his bow and arrows, there is a reason behind it. Yeah? So let's look at this one. So one small story is there. Um, when Arjun received this Gandiv bow from Varun Dev, and he was so happy with it, and he was also very, a good archer also. So he had taken a vow that whoever tells me to keep this bow aside, with the perspective of insulting him, that person I will kill him. That was the vow Arjun had taken, to kill the person whoever insults Arjun and asks him to keep the bow aside. So such a person on the battlefield, because of huge amount of compassion and grief, keeps the bow and arrow aside. Now we can understand the gravity of his action, the gravity of the situation. If you and me do it, it's hardly anything. But when Arjun, after taking a vow, does this, then it has its own importance. And sitting down on the chariot, when a warrior is tired, only then he sits down on the chariot. But here the battle has not even started. He will definitely not be tired. But despite that, he is sitting down on the chariot. So this basically highlights how much overwhelmed he was with grief. Okay. And again, you see, meaning we took this particular point few times before. So this is verse is spoken by Sanjay. It is not by anybody else. And Sanjay is in the camp of Dhritarashtra. Right? There is no reason for him to hide certain facts which will actually expose Arjun and Pandavas. Yeah. But he is saying it is Shoka Sambigna Manasa. And Shoka is what? Lamentation or grief. The grief is not a product of fear. Grief is out of some compassion. So when people say that Arjun was afraid, Arjun was fearful of Kauravas, it's actually a lie. Those people who have not read Mahabharata or Bhagavad Gita, only they will make such statements. But the actual verses do not say that. Huh? In fact, in 2.1, we can see this. In 2.1 also, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, tam tatha krupaya vishtam is the word used here. Huh? Tam tatha krupaya vishtam. Krupaya is compassion. This. Krupaya is compassion. So to say that Arjun was fearful is again incorrect. Okay. So evam uktva Arjuna sankhya. Sankhya is analysis. Okay. So Arjun analyzed the situation and he put forward his points in a very structured manner to say that current situation is so and so. If I do this, this will happen, and if this happens, then this happens, then this happens. That way he went from one step to another to another to another, and he has structured his points very well. So that situation or his thoughts he analytically presented is what Sanjay is saying. Who has presented? Arjun. Uktva Arjuna. Uktva is to speak. This way, when Arjun spoke analytically, Ratha Upastha Upavishat. Upastha is to Upastha is on the seat, and Upavishat is to sit. It's the noun and the verb. Huh? On what? On the chariot. Visrujya Sa Sharam Chapam. Sa Sharam is along with Sharam, that means the arrows, and the bow. Chapam is called as bow. So keeping the bow and the arrows aside, he cast it aside, and with the thought process, the mentality being Shoka Samvigna. He was completely overwhelmed, distressed by grief. So this is what Sanjay is explaining his particular Arjuna situation. Now we will see uh, three people, Dhritarashtra, Sanjay and Arjun. Three people spoke in this particular chapter, right? So Dhritarashtra spoke the first verse and the only verse throughout Bhagavad Gita he has spoken. Sanjay has spoken in first chapter, in second chapter, then 11th chapter he spoke, and 18th chapter he has spoken. That's all. These 4 chapters he has spoken. And Arjun has spoken in all chapters except 7th, 9th, 15th, and 16th. Rest in every chapter he has asked at least one question to Krishna. In some verses, in some chapters, he has asked two questions also. Now, why this is important to know is, people say Bhagavad Gita is it should not be called as Bhagavad Gita because where people other than Bhagwan have also spoken there. But that's not right. The almost 574 verses out of 700 are spoken by Krishna. So it's primarily Bhagwan who has spoken. Otherwise, it's a narration, a description of the current situation by Sanjay and questions by Arjun. So it is perfectly the right word, Bhagavad Gita. So that's all for this particular chapter. If there are any questions, we can take up.
So, Prabhuji,
Huh.
after listening this, Dhritarashtra must be happy because
Yes.
Arjuna has put down his bow and arrows, right, Prabhu?
Yes, yes. Very much, very valid point, and definitely, yes, that is the case actually. And since you have brought up the point, Prabhu, let's look at just one or two verses. Okay. Uh, so we spoke about it, right? Krishna and Arjun addressing with each other with various names, context driven names, right? Similarly, Sanjay is also calling Krishna as Madhusudan here. So Madhu was the name of a demon, and Sudan meaning the one who killed the demon. So Madhusudan is Krishna who killed the Madhu demon. So he addresses Krishna as Madhusudan because he's saying that the way Krishna killed the Madhu demon, similarly, the demon of these negative thoughts that have come in the mind of Krishna, of Arjun, will be killed by Krishna. And again, further it happens here. Sanjay, he says, these two verses, having spoken thus, Arjun, the chastiser of enemies, purposely the name Parantap has been used there, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and I fell silent. Okay. And then this particular stuff, Krishna smiling in the midst of both the armies, this also has been spoken by Sanjay. So he understands very well that irrespective of what situation Arjun is in, Krishna is there to guide him on the right path. So Dhritarashtra, when he felt happy about the current situation, Sanjay brought him back to his senses to tell him, don't worry, we have not reached the end. There is still Krishna over there. He will ensure that Arjun does not get drifted on his path. A very good question and very good observation, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thanks, Prabhu.
So if there are any question, we can take it. Otherwise, maybe do you want to summarize what you have understood? Very much, Ji?
So there are 2-3 points that I picked up today as a lesson. Arjuna's conscious when he says that he is to be blamed or he is to be blamed, and as you said that he's not blaming Duryodhan for the situation. That means he's he's at that conscious level where he's looking inward rather than looking outward and blaming people or anybody else for the situation he is into.
Very
So
nice.
that was one thing that I observed. The other one was when he imagines that if he does this, then it's this sin and then that sin, and then he sort of builds up over it. He gets tired and he leaves his bow and arrow and he sits down. So it's exactly what he's actually tired of the energy that he has put in imagining that negativeness. It's very similar to our daily life, which we don't realize in day-to-day life. The day we feel that we are tired is actually not when we would have exerted more physically. it's the days where we would have exerted ourselves mentally more. So the more energy we have in terms of in terms of the mental energy or the emotional energy, the more higher we grow in our energy levels, the lesser sleep or the lesser tired we feel in life. That's exactly what is मतलब वहाँ पे वो दर्शाया गया है कि वो थक जाते हैं. जैसे हम लोग भी जिस दिन बोलते हैं हम बहुत थक गए, तो एक्चुअली हम ऐसा नहीं होता कि हम ऑफिस में काम करके थक जाते हैं, हम ऑफिस में स्ट्रेस लेके थक जाते हैं. So this, it's kind of a reflection that we all need to do and learn from this. I feel that it's a very nice pointer. And yeah, the other thing, in the last, when you say that Dhritarashtra feels good or happy about the fact that Arjun has kept his bow and arrow, and while Sanjay says that don't worry, Krishna is there, it's not the end of the battle yet. So it's kind of the wiseness and the unwiseness is the kind of how wise Sanjay is and how limited the vision of Dhritarashtra is, It reflects in their conduct here in terms of this situation, sort of.
Correct. And another very important point that we have to take back, although it is a bit too early, we have just ended the first chapter, which this we will know from the second chapter onwards. But something, we always ignore the invisible hand of Krishna behind whatever situation we are in. So we always, as you rightly said, we blame others. We blame others. Like, अगर कुछ अच्छा हो गया है, तो I have done it. Mataji, can you mute yourself when you're not speaking? Thank you. So we generally have a tendency to blame others when something goes wrong, or take the credit when something goes right. And this is very much a kind of a normal behavior nowadays. And when we blame others, we forget that this is also orchestrated by somebody, by Krishna. So we have that tendency to think that when something bad has happened, it is that person who did this to me. But we forget that our karma has come back to us. And that person is just the postman, just the delivery man to give our karma to us. So jaise when we hear some bad news via some letter or a telegram or a courier, we don't go and hit the postman or the courier guy. Similarly, when this karma comes to us via certain person, there is no point in actually, shouting or screaming and beating up the other person or, giving bad words to the other person. This is our karma coming to us. And this is that invisible hand of Krishna in our life. So we not just get our karma, but also we become better devotees in the process, which is actually more important to us, which we will see, in the second chapter now, and even third chapter also. Shivani ji, welcome. Yeah, sorry, I did not notice you have joined. Hare Krishna. Hope you are well. And
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, shall we wrap up, or any other lesson learned to be shared? Any question around today's class or first chapter, or even otherwise also?
So probably 4 arguments I would like to revise again so that it's fixed. The first is compassionate.
Correct.
Second is loss of enjoyment.
Correct.
Third is sinful reactions.
Perfect.
Right? And fourth is Varan Shankar. So I forgot English word for that.
Varana Shankar is destruction of dynasty.
Destruction of dynasty. Yeah.
Correct. There will be another fifth argument which Arjun will put forward in the second chapter in the verse 5 and 6. 6 basically. So 6, correct. So that we will see when we go into the next class. Generally, in other classes, I conduct some kind of, kind of a quiz session after every chapter is over. So would you like to have in this class also? It's either on Kahoot or Quizzes के app के ऊपर रहेगा. It's a kind of an entertainment plus, revising our knowledge also, revising the whole chapter.
Yes, good, Prabhu. Why not?
Chalo, so next week then we will do this way. Maybe we will have first 15-20 minutes for the quiz, and अगर कुछ wrap up रहेगा तो then we can do the wrap up. Otherwise we will start the second chapter then. ठीक है?
ठीक है, प्रभु जी.
Garima ji, is it okay with you?
Yes, sure. I'll get to revise because I'm very bad at revising slokas.
Any हो जाएगा माता जी. We also have been in the same scenario. After learning Bhagavad Gita for 3-4 times from 3-4 different people, तब जाके दिमाग में कुछ थोड़ा अंदर घुसते गया. So the best way to learn Bhagavad Gita is to teach somebody.
Okay.
Right.
So fine.
Yes.
So thank you and Hare Krishna. Let's
Hare
meet
Krishna.
next week.
Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you, Prabhu ji.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.